So that's the same agency that had a squeeze cocker, for Christ's sake. So
they had a squeeze cocker, so they have more money than brains. But also, New Brunswick PD had it too.
And they dress like they're invading Poland next week. So,
well, you know why that is. That goes way back
My wife
to Schwarzkopf.
My wife's gonna be pissed because all the rest of tonight I'm just gonna be saying squeeze cocker all
Squeeze cocker.
Squeeze cocker. Squeeze cocker.
Is
that should be a T-shirt.
Yes.
That's somebody's nickname, I'm sure.
It was Clayton's.
God, Clayton's new nickname is Squeeze Cocker. We have dubbed him tonight.
That's what.
Nice.
That's what
It's no longer.
That's what he's going to be doing to me when we get to GOA. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
It's another episode of Locked, Cocked, and Unfiltered. I'm Chris Lyles. I'm here with my co-host Clayton Slot Liquor
Reconnecting.
and Tony Simone. And then we've got our special guest. We've got Rob Pincus, and we've got Brad Amick in the house as well too. We're going to be discussing the great and wonderful SIG P320 due to some of the recent issues, and I know we've just had an episode that we dropped talking about it as well too. And gentlemen, I appreciate y'all jumping on with us to get some different aspects of this. Unfortunately, Zeke seems to be running behind. Hopefully he'll jump on, but we're going to go ahead and get right into this, fellas. I know we've seen everything that's happened with the airmen, and I think that's really brought a lot more light into this. I know we've got the video from today that kind of went around social media and stuff. Rob, have you seen that video?
Yeah, I caught it before. I got it actually during a break in class today. The one from the one where the guy pulls the trigger a little bit and then makes it go bang.
Yeah, where he's wiggling it around with
project.
I think it's Wyoming. Yeah, Wyoming Gun Project. There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, Brad, I saw you post. I know you're not allowing the 320s in your classes or anything like that. Have you had people calling you or contacting you about the 320?
Yeah, I actually took in one yesterday, not for an AD or anything, but just one that's acting a little sick. He and I talked a good bit about some of the stuff that's going on, and of course, you got. And I'm sure all of you see it. You got one segment of the 2A sphere that is oblivious to anything on the internet, and everybody is. And then the other half is versed on everything on the internet. And so this old guy here, he didn't know anything about it. And I was like, hey, this is my everyday carry. I was like, wow, you sure about that? And I was like, how are you carrying? He goes, I'm carrying an appendix. I'm like, good luck with that.
Whoa.
There's never a problem until you have a problem. So,
yeah,
but.
I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. One of the biggest reasons why the post I made for Carolina Tactical was two of the ranges that we use have banned them. So two of the ranges we use, Mid Carolina Rifle Club and one of the others, they've banned them for the time being.
Okay, I got you. Now I've been out to Mid Carolina. It's a nice place. I don't know, man. I mean, Rob, you've been in this game for a long time, man. So, I mean, I saw your post about it. I know your feelings on it and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I've been teaching out here in the New Mexico desert all day, and I'm old, So I'm grumpy and hot and tired. How deep and ranty do you want me to get about this?
Hey, man, like I said, pull the pin, throw the grenade. I think this needs to. These are conversations that need to happen.
So, let's get some background. First of all, every gun just about in the world has had somebody say the gun just went off. And generally speaking, we know in the gun industry that's not true. Somebody did something, and then the gun went off. And probably what somebody did had something to do with that trigger moving. Whether it was their finger or their holster or a part of their clothing or what the fuck, some keys, something in the drawer, like something happened. And it wasn't the gun just went off. We know that. Even with the Remington problem, right? A lot of us said that about the Remington problem, and that turned out to actually be a problem. But then what came out was, oh yeah, we knew this might happen, but it was like when you close the bolt, right? It wasn't just like standing around, nobody touching the gun, and the gun just goes off. And that's where you get into this, point the gun in a generally safe direction, don't touch the trigger if you're not ready to shoot, all that kind of stuff. And that's where people point and say, the rules. I even saw some asshole say that about, can I say that on this podcast? Some asshole say that about the airmen.
It's unfiltered,
we know next to nothing, right? We know almost nothing about what happened with this airman. Supposedly, the gun was in the holster. He took the holster off with the gun, put it down, and shot, and the gun went off. And somebody said, well, he shouldn't have pointed it at himself. And it's like, man, tell me you've never taught a classroom full of SWAT cops without telling me you never taught a classroom full of SWAT cops. Because every one of those motherfuckers with a Han Solo drop leg is pointing the gun at you when they're sitting in a chair and you're standing in front of the room. So this idea that a holstered gun needs to always be pointed in a safe direction is just simply not true. Reminder, everybody carry an appendix, right? So people have this very sophomoric attitude towards safety sometimes, and I've been fighting that fight about how the rules are obviously not adequate for over 20 years. So all that as background, now, and more background, the Serpa holster, right? Serpa holster was 10 years ago. We saw this same thing, this wave of can't have a Serpa holster in my class. I'm not allowing Serpa holsters. Serpa holsters can't be in my class. I've had hundreds of military special operations guys, probably over 1,000. I've had, I'm sure, thousands of law enforcement guys issued that holster and civilian students who bought that holster, used that holster. I had 2 of them in class today. And I did a demo before we started doing presentation from the holster that shows the design flaw in the Serpa holster. And it's not the release, it's the speed cut that allows the gun to be rocked forward. And if you rock the gun forward through the speed cut in the front of the holster, while your finger stays in that little trough and the gun comes up, your finger ends up as it comes forward on the trigger. And I've held 4 or 5 of the holsters that have been shot through into people's legs, and I've seen pictures of a lot more. Every single one of those holsters, the bullet hole is behind where that gun should be oriented as it comes straight up out of the holster. So if the user rocks the gun forward and their finger stays in that position and they're pushing inwards, which they shouldn't be, boom, a shot goes through the holster and into their ass or into their leg. Now, that speed cut shouldn't be on the holster. I know why it was there. I'm friends with the guy who designed the holster. I've stood on television when I was running SWAT Magazine TV with him and explained that design flaw and explained how a user error will result potentially in a shot through your own leg. Should Black Hawk have changed it? Yes, I think so. But they didn't. And yet millions of those holsters are out there. And because millions of holsters are out there, and because there's a design issue that makes it more prone to a negligent discharge, we see a relatively high number of negligent discharges with that holster. I believe the 320 is going through exactly the same thing. It's a target-style trigger in a duty gun package. And SIG made the decision to bring that gun to market. It's a retrofit on the P320, which was an internally hammer-fired design. They turned it into a striker-fired design. That's why the bore axis is so high. That's why it's a ridiculously shaped striker gun. It's like Grand Power has one. Grand Power makes a great rotating barrel hammer-fired gun. They turned it into a striker-fired gun, and it's awkwardly tall because they took a hammer-fired gun, which has to be tall above the hand, and now they turned it into a striker-fired gun. Well, SIG did the same thing, and when they did it, they intentionally decided to try to make the crispest, shortest trigger break they could. And that's why the striker is under so much tension to begin with, and that's why the trigger is relatively short. And in the original models, the trigger pressure was relatively low. Then they ran into the 45-degree drop angle thing, and they had this is where you knew SIG was going to handle this poorly. When the original problem came out, they didn't do a recall. They had a voluntary upgrade, and this was, 7-8 years ago, and that's when I said original 320s are not allowed in my classes. And I said that as much as a statement against SIG's decision not to have a recall, and against any SIG 320 owner that wouldn't actually send their gun in for the trigger change, for the upgrade, which should have been a safety recall.
Why?
Go ahead.
Why? That's what I don't understand is why did they handle it like this?
Because they did not want, I think, they did not. Let's remember also, this is a European company. This is not an American company. And in fact, most American handgun companies that are successful, the buildings that have American employees and have an American incorporation, they're owned by European conglomerates, right? Glock, Beretta, SIG, Walther, all of them. Now there's Amick USA, but they're Turkish, which is basically Europe and the Middle East for the most part. American companies peddle in antiquated designs or novelties. 1911s, revolvers, and Keltec when it comes to handguns, right? Not avidity arms, but
1911s, revolvers, and Keltec.
That's what you got. Honestly, like you don't. Ruger and Smith & Wesson made great third generation, like the third gen Smiths, right? That 1970s, 80s, 90s double single action guns they made really, really well. I don't have a big problem. I actually like the M&P. I think the M&P 2.0 was a great evolution. Springfield, their gun is a Croatian gun. Again, it's a European striker-fired guns, all of them. They're not their guns they make in the U.S. are 1911s. Ruger hasn't had a lot of success with striker-fired guns. Colt never had any real success with striker-fired guns. The old ones, right, the pocket guns, the 20s, but not modern polymer striker-fired guns, there really aren't any out there. So all these companies are European companies. And they're run by Europeans, and I saw this up close and personal when I worked with Glock a lot in the late 90s. And the same thing is happening at SIG. So they decided to bring what was a hammer-fired gun to market as a striker-fired gun with a target-style trigger inside of a duty package. And that gun is more prone, without a tab safety, and with a relatively short, relatively crisp trigger movement, it's just more prone to accidents. And remember when one of Jaeger's guys set one off in the parking lot outside of Sacramento, stepping on the gun right after it came out? And they said, well, we've done this demo hundreds of times with people explaining you can step on these guns and they're not going to go off. That one went off. I was sort of like skeptical of the whole thing. Then I found out it was a 320. And I was like, well, there you go. You've done that demo hundreds of times with Glocks, brother. You never did that demo with a 320 with a short, crisp trigger with no tab safety, and that's why it went off in the parking lot. So there was clear indication from the beginning that this was a flawed design for the marketed, advertised audience, right? And that's just continued. They've just doubled and tripled down on, no, this is fine, and they made that change to the drop safety issue, and now they're paying this price for this very European, head in the sand, obstinate, we're just going to stick to our guns and push through it attitude. And I have friends in New Hampshire. They aren't happy with the way they're being told to handle this. They roll their eyes, and I think they know that this should have been a safety recall in the beginning. I think they do realize that you've got this issue of potentially stacked tolerance problem now, which is what we saw, like the video that went around today, where the guy's like, what isn't being talked about enough is the guy admits he pulled the trigger a little bit, right? Pull a Glock trigger with a Haley skimmer in it a little bit, and you deactivate the striker block. If you go back and look at the FBI Ballistic Research Center, which is an amazing facility, an amazing group of people that was honestly built by a guy named Buford Boone, who did incredible work for the FBI on behalf of the entire law enforcement community, and it's had a lot of benefits for the private sector community as well. It's an amazing facility with amazing people, but when you look at the pictures of how they got the gun to fire, there's a guy with two hands sticking a punch in the back of the gun that's disconnecting the parts of the gun that are supposed to touch to see if the striker will fall past the internal safety. Well, I can make this gun go off that way too, but I have to stick a punch in the back of the gun and twist it in a certain way to make it happen. And that's not a warranty issue. That's not a the gun's broken or it's a bad design. That's stop sticking a punch in the gun and messing with the internals, right? So when I see this guy on the internet who pulls the trigger a little bit and then starts yanking on the slide to twist it relative to the frame to change the height as he twists between the bottom of the striker and the sear engagement, the disconnector, and sure, he rocks it off and the gun goes bang. This is not surprising to me as a guy who has designed a gun and brought it to market, but who's doing that? Who's pulling their gun out of their holster, pulling the trigger a little bit, and then twisting the slide on top of it? When is that happening?
That was my question on it too.
Should a gun stand up to that? If you think it should, don't buy a 320. If you think a gun should,
Rob,
if you think lock-picking lawyers shouldn't be able to figure out how to stick some angled tool into your gun and make it go bang instead of you having to pull the trigger, don't buy my gun either, because you can figure out how to do that stuff, right?
Hey, Rob, I'm sorry, but I took a class from Clayton, and that's how he told me to shoot.
Hold it steady and stick the thing in the back and get an ice pick.
He said wiggle the slide back and forth while I'm pulling the trigger and see what happens.
My whole thing is
Zeke, I told you that what happens at the range stays at the range. Come on, man.
It's a bad design, but I don't think it's broken. I don't think the gun just goes off. I just think, and until I see stack tolerances or measured parts or an out-of-spec parts from some series, show me that. But as long as I see guys pulling the trigger a little bit and twisting the slide to make it go off, or taking an FCU and a Wilson Combat grip and a aftermarket slide and putting all these Frankenstein parts together and then sticking a punch in the back of it, like, that's SIG's problem, is they brought a duty-style gun with a target-style trigger to market, and they're just digging their heels in as the European company they are. It's an advertising issue, not a design issue.
I had a really good conversation today with one of the guys at the local gun range, because I do a lot of work with the USPSA and IDPA guys around here. And one of the things that brought up is every one of these uncommanded fires that has taken place has been the duty style, your standard issued duty style gun. Have you heard any issues with X5 Legions?
That's what I got here. And
and honestly, because you brought up a good point, Rob, about the stack up intolerances that every gun has. No gun is made perfect to square. Everything's going to have some stack up intolerances from your metal injection molded stuff. Hilton put a good thing on Patreon a couple months ago about technology now with metal injection molded versus stuff 15 years ago, and the way the technology is. And as much as I agree that has changed, I think that part of the problem is what you just said. It's a target style gun that's been brought to market for a duty implication, and I think those stack ups could be part of the problem, and that's why you're not seeing it with the X5. Me personally, from what I've seen around here, and going through both.
The owner of an X5 is a more discerning owner, probably.
But I just
they are treating the gun with more deference than the average cop that gets issued a 320 or the average airman.
Well, so you look at the video today. All right, so video today, he's obviously he's doing all the manipulations and everything else to make it go off. Well, so if you got that much stack up there, well, I have a very rigid frame with this X5 with this tungsten infused frame. So is that stopping some of the stack up because it's not flexing?
Yeah, 100%. And again, the guy admits he pulls the trigger a little bit. I don't think he shows that on the video, at least not the versions I've seen going around. It's just, he starts it out by saying, okay, I barely moved the trigger, but look at what happens. And it's like, well, that's disingenuous, bro. You know people scrolling through TikTok aren't
for sure
hearing what you're saying.
And you brought up the point about Remington a few minutes ago. I don't know how many freaking triggers I changed out when that debacle with Remington come about. And what did you see with most of those Remington triggers that went off? And it was the one that was on CNBC, and the people had tuned their own trigger and they tuned it wrong, and it was running on the ragged edge. As soon as they took the safety off, it flipped.
Right, and the Michigan State Police gun was handled by an armorer to replace an out of spec part, and that gets glossed over too. Is they had an out of spec part in the gun. And SIG did some of the work, and then they started sending parts to the MSP armorer, who may or may not have done it right. And they showed the close-up inspection pictures of that one MIM part on the sear engagement that had chipped away and had a little spike that ended up with like 1/10 of the engagement surface that was supposed to be there on that particular gun. So, I'm not a fan of MIM parts because of the way they wear, because of the way they chip. The
exact reason
to cooling, like that's why I won't put a MIM part. We looked at
it. The exact reason why when I do a high level tune up on 1911, the first thing that goes is all the MIM bullshit. When somebody brings me a Prodigy to be tuned or anything like that, first thing that goes off is all the MIM parts comes out, and I put tool steel parts in for exactly what you just said.
And I don't think people realize, and so we were joking in the pre-show when we were talking, but honestly, I'm at the point where. Like, I might just tell people, hey, if you really have the 320 and you're really not happy and you want an American-made gun with no MIM parts, send me the gun and $50 for shipping. I'll send you a brand new gun because I need more people to get their hands on this and see what a defensive gun should be built like. And our trigger is not as good as the 320 trigger in terms of it being a target shooting trigger. Our gun is designed to be a defensive gun. And the trigger is designed to require an intentional extended pull before the gun goes off. And it's just a different approach. And most people want a gun that they're going to be able to shoot tight groups on the range with. And that's why one of the reasons the 320 is so popular is it's relatively easy to do that. And SIG's, where I indict SIG is you allowed people to buy into the idea that this was a duty style, carry style, home defense style gun. And it really isn't. It's a retrofitted hammer-fired gun with too much gap between where the bore axis is and the top of the frame, and that allows that play. And then you also wanted the trigger to be short and crisp, and that's how you've gotten here.
I agree. I mean, looking at looking at everything that we've seen, that I've seen come in the shop, and taking the ones I've got, because I'll be very honest, all of my LE career, it was Glock, and then when I got hurt, shooting competitively as a kid, all I shot was 1911s. I mean, that's how I got into gunsmithing, was 1911s. Mom and Dad couldn't afford to buy me one, so I had to learn how to build them, and I was fortunate to apprentice under some cool people. But so whenever I got out, and with some neuropathy in my hand, I didn't shoot the Glock as well as I used to. And so I shoot the SIG well. I mean, I shoot the 320 platform well. But the reason why I've quit carrying it in class is because it's become a damn distraction. When people say, oh my God, he's got a SIG. And I'm like, and the thing I've asked, and people are like, well, have you seen the videos? What else? What other proof do you need? And I'm like, well, for one, the closest thing to a chain of custody that I've seen is the MSP issue. Mm-hmm. Where it went from the MSP to the FBI. That is the closest thing to a chain of custody that I have seen to be able to give quantifiable data that this thing was taken care of. This thing followed a chain, and this is where it went. So that way, there could be some validity to the conversation. Not some dude with his freaking face covered up talking about how bad the SIG is.
Right. No, I agree. That's the best.
How valid is that bullshit?
But it is. But they stated there.
That is his eyes.
I recognize those eyes anywhere.
The whole report. It's an inconclusive report. And when they were able to create a failure, it was after they intentionally ground down the first sear stop. And then it was only sometimes by sticking a punch into the back of the gun and disconnecting the trigger from the sear on purpose. It's like that does not prove the gun goes off on its own.
The same bullshit you get when somebody watches a video of Johnny Glocks and they start screwing on Glock trigger bar and do the same kind of shit. Same thing is when you screw with something you don't have any business screwing with, you make it go off.
Hi, Zeke.
Hey, Rob. I had a plan. If I would have been here on time, I had a plan to hop on and then just like see you and go, "Oh, Rob Pincus is on," and then just hang up because I wanted to be like the cool kids that hate Rob. But I guess I'm going to be like a normie now.
Most of them are dead now. I've outlived most of them.
That was close.
Like me.
That was close.
Tony's on here.
They don't remember. I told them that standing sideways and double tapping was fucking stupid back in '97. So they're over it.
I will always love Rob because he's the one that said, "Hey, you're fat."
Yeah, you did a good job changing that.
I did. It was
good.
I'll never forget, man. We were at Nashville Armory. And Christina and Vanessa were there. That was the first time I ever met Vanessa. And me and Marty did a Talking Lead video with you, and he was making us do sit-ups and push-ups and all that. And then he goes, "How the hell are you going to protect your family when you can't even get off the couch to get a beer?" And I was like, "Oh, shit." It's true.
Probably valid point.
My question with some of this stuff, too, is if the Legion is based off the 320 platform, why? That's my thing. Is why aren't we seeing it with some of these, like the Legion, or is the 365 not the similar?
No, 365 is different. The trigger system is different in 365.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
I was thinking it was. I think
Brad's point about the higher end versions is very sound in terms of the tolerances. And again, I think that part of it is the behavior of the owners of those guns are less likely to pull the trigger a little bit and then bump into their slide or whatever hell happens to cause these other guns to go up.
Because like that video you're talking about with him twisting it and stuff, that was my thing watching that video is when does that happen inside of a holster?
Yeah, it's like if I'm in close quarters with somebody and I started to pull the trigger and then they grabbed the gun and started wrestling with me, I'm already prepared for the gun might go off in that moment for any number of reasons. Sear failure is not the thing I'm worried about at that moment. I'm in a wrestling match over a gun that I shouldn't have been in the first place. Right? So there's other issues in that moment.
Right.
I'm just glad I finally saw the dog pop up from Brad because all I've seen is him doing this all the time. Like the whole show, he's been doing this. And then I'm like, wow, this is a special kind of show. And then the dog pops up. I'm like, yes, okay. Woo!
See, what he's not telling you is Chris loaned him some peanut butter, so.
Stop!
Well, before you got here, Chris had his.
I don't even know where my dogs are.
Back tape over the camera. So that was I couldn't see it clearly.
So I tell you what we can do, just so some people can see what's going on here. Let me find.
Well, let me recreate it here in the hotel room.
All right.
Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Is this the wiggle guy or the punch?
Yeah, this is the wiggle guy.
Alrighty.
Did you see that? Holy crap!
Yep, we saw it. Let me jump.
What's going on, folks? So I wanted. All right, folks, I'm back at the slide. Let's see if we can touch the slide and get it to go off.
But you see, he's got that screw shoved up in there.
Try that again.
Yeah, but what he's not telling you how he prepped it.
Fired case, Yep. Fully functioning striker safety and striker. Yep. Let's try it again. That's two in a row. Holy crap. You want to try? Oh, shit. I didn't do. There we go. Yep. Reset. All right. I didn't take the screw, the input tool out. Let's see if we can do that again. I'm going to try.
The input tool?
I'm going to come. I got to get some better light here.
That's what I call it too with my wife.
All right.
Now it's a podcast.
Again, there you go. No fingers on the trigger. Remember, the P320 cannot fire without a full
Pause the
trigger
video.
pull.
Pause the
Hey,
video.
rewind that.
Pause
This
it.
guy's serious. How are we supposed to take him seriously? He's got a screw jammed in there, partially pushing the trigger back.
Right.
And he's like, no finger on the trigger. Look at me.
Right.
I mean, this
We're
guy's
supposed to take him serious because
I have no idea. Maybe this
we're
guy's
supposed
a
to take
great
him
guy,
serious
but
because
right
his
now,
face isn't covered.
Right now, he's
Rob?
an actual fucking clown.
Here's the thing,
So
Rob.
here's the latest
Obviously,
guy. The latest guy that hates Rob Pincus is this guy because you're a fucking clown, man. Nobody's
Rob,
and then what you see him do is he pushes down on the front of the slide, and what that does is it's the tolerance issue we were talking about before. He
Let's see if we
pushes
can do
down
that
the front of the slide that picks up the back of the slide from it separates the striker from the trigger assembly a little bit, and then he starts doing the twisting. I just don't understand what he thinks he's showing us, except going viral for people that only pay attention to the part that his finger isn't on the trigger, but he jammed a fucking screw in there.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Well, it's about getting clicks. That's all. It's about getting clicks.
No, it's not. It's all of you people. It's all of you people not having any law enforcement experience and never having to go down on the ground in a hardware store fighting a suspect in a bucket of screws, and that could possibly happen.
I forgot. That's why I hated Rob, because he's never been in the shit.
As an officer, that's not the screw aisle; it's the fastener aisle, motherfucker.
Hey, I was police in South Carolina, man. We just fought in double wide and single wide mobile homes, dog. I mean, that's all it was.
So his whole thing was that it only moved a millimeter, and it's not a complete trigger pull.
That's what he's getting at.
But this has kind of been my thing with
if
the
you
SIG thing.
don't understand, look, it's clear, right? If you don't understand how these guns actually work, people, this little plunger is activated by a part or a connector or a piece that is tied to the trigger, and it pushes up on it. At some point in the process, that little plunger in this design gets pushed out of the way. You don't have to fully pull the trigger. You have to be pulling the trigger for that to move out of the way. That's what he's done. He's disconnected the block. And then he twists it so that the bottom of the striker, this little bit there, comes off of the part of the trigger bar and the trigger system in the SIG that connects to it. Like, this is not a mystery of flawed engineering. This is a guy running a vaudeville act on the internet. I don't understand what this is and why anybody's taking it seriously.
It's the same thing Rob's talking about. When everybody watches the videos on how to do their own homeschool, gunsmith, trigger job on a Glock. Oh, I'm going to put a screw in it, or I'm going to pin it, or I'm going to do this and that, and don't realize they've got to do other things to change the balance.
I thought Brad was about to insult MGS for a second there.
Yeah, I was waiting.
It was like homeschool gunsmithing. Whoa, wait.
No. I might would have done your former place, but not.
Thank you.
But no, seriously, and I just I go back to when Rob was talking about the Remington 700 trigger issue, and I wonder, there's no doubt, and Colin put on a good video today. There is smoke somewhere. There's smoke. There's a fire somewhere. I get that, and I think where SIG has screwed up royally is the PR side of this. Is they didn't get in front of it like Rob was saying a minute ago. They didn't get in front of it when they knew there was an issue. They should have got in front of it.
Can we stop watching this guy? Can we please stop watching this guy?
Oh, come on. I know you're enjoying it.
Let's get out the trailer park.
Look at those crazy eyes you paused it on. Wait. Can everybody notice the crazy eyes right there?
or the fact you can see his camera in his right glass lens.
We'll go full screen.
Nice.
You're zooming in on it. Nice.
Enhance.
And he could be a great guy. I'm sorry.
He may be a great guy. Maybe he's a good father. I don't know.
Nope. I was looking at my striker fired pistol, and if I take this chopstick, and I just wedge it in here, look, it went off. Hold on a second. Look, I'll do it again. Hold on. If I just take this chopstick and stick it in my trigger guard and just torque it a little.
Oh my God! And you're not pulling the trigger. Oh my! You were not.
I'm not pulling the trigger.
Your finger was never on the trigger.
But
it's going to be harder to eat Chinese food now.
That's not a gun. That's an impact weapon.
That's a status.
That's also what I. That's also what I call it when I'm with my wife.
A chopstick?
Yes, and an impact weapon.
Nice. I like chopstick better.
My question is how long is it going to take the Air Force to release something official?
Okay, as far as the military is concerned, they don't answer to anybody about some bullcrap about a P320 and worrying about sales and worrying about SIG.
Right. No, I get that.
They're looking at a $500 million 10-year contract. So the question is, which generals are going to try to derail this, keep it quiet, or move it right along? You know what I'm saying? Because there was always some iffy stuff about them accepting this as a pistol anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm sorry, I just thought about something. You know what this is going to be? This is going to be the Epstein Files 2.0.
Hey, the file on the P320 is on my desk. The file is gone. There was no file. I don't know what you're talking about. Why you even bring it up? Obviously, you were the anti-gun group.
You got me sneezing out because you're bullshit.
I
thought you were going
Smith & Wesson is talking to a whole bunch of generals right now with their Massachusetts version of the M&P with the manual safety and saying, hey, here's an American-made striker-fired gun that we could send to you, my friend, and just and take the contract away from the damn European company, please.
What worries me is, obviously the federal government don't mind dropping money just to shit can a process and say, you know what, we're going back to drawing board. Columbia PD, which is 10 minutes from where I'm sitting at right now, just changed over to all 320s. So their entire department, 500 plus, firearms, holsters, ancillary gear, extra mags, everything was just purchased. And this is the concern I have is for the federal government. I mean, fuck, they're going to spend money. They're going to spend money. But what about the agency? What about your LE agencies that doesn't have that kind of money? That they get out and they get sold this bag of goods for whatever reason, and now oh shit, we got to change our whole process up. We got to change.
Did you guys see that SIG just filed a lawsuit against a law enforcement academy in Washington State?
Washington,
yep, yep, I saw that,
including the gag order.
Are you kidding me right now? You're gonna,
but it ends today.
You're gonna sue an academy because you're not using my gun? Fuck off.
Yeah, but I think that was. I don't know if that was a really good decision, even if it's not.
Well, the good news with a lot of these PDs is there a huge market in trade and police trade in Glock 22s and Glock 23s, so they should be able to get a great price on them.
I just say, somebody said something earlier about this idea that the airman has shed more light on this. I don't think we've learned anything. I mean, the Air Force has just said we're going to pause the use of this gun in this command because of this thing happening while we investigate. The FBI report has been out for a couple weeks on the MSP shooting, the Michigan State Police shooting. So if there was anything objective that should have broke this dam, It was that. This is a purely emotional reaction, a bandwagon banning now that's occurring all over the internet. That's what's happening. It is not because of any objective evidence. It's because of the emotional response to the airmen dying. And I think Gunsight, I mean, when the grandfather location of the private sector training industry says we're not going to allow this gun from one of the largest companies in the world, that was a big statement. And while they may be antiquated and they may be old school, they are still very influential and very respected in the private sector training community. And I think that tripped a lot of these individual instructors and local ranges into making this decision.
And I think the thing that bugs me the most out of it, and I told Clayton and Chris with this when they were asking me beyond, is the marketing and the psychological aspect of it. Because while I know 99.999% of me is like, okay, this isn't really going to happen in my 320 because I love my 320s. There's a 0.001% piece of me that has doubt now. And every time I go to holster it, I think, ooh, is this going to be that time? Is this going to, even though I know everything in me says this is not going to happen, that doubt is now planted and that seed is now there. And that's where I feel bad for SIG because that's a hard thing to fight. The psychology is a harder thing to fight than the actual like gunsmithing and everything.
I have a couple of the FCUs because I have one of the X1 carbon PDWs that takes the FCU, and I have a Wilson combat grip that I put an FCU in. I've never owned a regular 320, but it's a high bore axis. I don't think it's a good trigger for carry. Like I've never been excited about the gun, but I can't imagine how anybody like Zeke. Honestly, if something happened with that gun, everybody's going to look at you like you're an idiot. Like, well, you knew this was going on. Why would you still be carrying it? No. So I think that factor is now going to start catching up with the individual owner. Is even if you trust it and you don't understand how it could happen, and like the position I'm in, it's not been objectively proven to me that without some manipulation of the trigger, the gun's just going to go off. So I'm not going to tell students they can't bring it, but if I have a sloppy gun handling student with one, if I have a sloppy gun handling student with a 1911 that can't seem to figure out when the safety should be on or off or keep their finger off the trigger, any of that, I switch them out. Your gun's too complicated for you, sir. Have this gun that's more modern and simple. And a Serpa holster, the same thing. Like if you're sloppy and reckless, why give yourself a design that's more prone to an accident? Or
and with that statement, I'm now 97% confident in my SIG P320.
You got to start looking at it. Hey, you want to send it to me? I'll send you a PD10.
6 years later,
has anything come out? Has anything come out?
I'm waiting on mine.
I have inventory now.
Has anything come out with the report from the Air Force One? All I've seen was it was a Safari Land holster. And when I hear Safari Land, immediately I think leather. I know they have Kydex now, but that's the first thing I think is leather. Has anything come out about the details of what the holster was?
I haven't seen nothing.
No, they haven't released any information. And the Alien Gear guys went to the ballistic research facility during the inspection. SIG did not send a representative, but Alien Gear did for the MSP holster. And they do say that it is extremely unlikely, but you can deform the holster enough for it to interact with the trigger. But again, I think what they're saying is something like the scenario where guys would rub a Serpa holster in pea gravel and then come up and say, "Oh, look, it can jam," or what happens with this guy with putting a screw in the trigger and then twisting the gun. Like, I am sure there is some combination of put it in a vise, twist it, bang on it, and have really bad luck, and the trigger can interfere with the trigger, or the holster can interfere with the trigger, but the FBI report does say that it is incredibly unlikely that that's what happened in this case.
But the M18
so let me ask this is what is your thoughts on the conversations or comments that Bruce from Grey Guns has been putting out?
What has he said?
Bruce is, listen, I have not, I noticed, I think Bruce put out a comment like today maybe or late yesterday, and I haven't seen, is that correct? And I have
He because he put one out a couple months ago, right after
March.
everything.
So there was one in March,
and
I reposted that in the ICE training group thread, the ICE training group at Facebook about 5 days ago, and I said, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but this is still Bruce Gray and Gray Guns' official position, which is this can't happen. Now, here's what I say about that. Bruce is a nice guy. Bruce is also very, adamant about his way is the right way and this is the right thing. And so when they say this can't happen, there is nobody, most people at SIG don't know that trigger as well as the guys at Gray Guns and Bruce Gray. They know that trigger and they have worked on that trigger and they were very instrumental in development of the trigger, some of the higher end versions. They have all the aftermarket stuff. They are the experts. And if they're going to put their reputation on the idea that this can't happen, and they're going to stand next to SIG and say this can't happen, now it's an Epstein Files thing. You're kind of left with one of two decisions. Either that's true and real, or they bought in on the cover-up. Right? And I don't think that of Bruce Gray. So there could be some.
I don't either.
There could be some level of denial and investment, and I don't want to see what I'm being shown, or I don't want to look in certain corners because I might not like what I see. But I do believe that, again, this kind of falls into where I stand on this, is that the trigger works as designed. It's just a poorly designed trigger for the task that it's being sold for. And that's something that Bruce doesn't want to hear because he thinks it's the perfectly designed trigger because of the way it works. But I think the way it works is antithetical to the way a carry gun or a duty gun should be equipped in terms of a trigger with a tab safety and longer trigger pull.
I go back to me and the old man was in here talking about the 320s and the other day when the other one come in, and what we said earlier. All right, so to you. The last Wilson Combat, grip that I had in here felt more stiff than the OEM.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Grip module. All right. Yeah. So to me, all right. So you take the X5 we talked about with the tungsten infusion, and it's very rigid and it is heavy. It's robust. All right, and then you take the standard Pro, where it's got the shitty polymer that it is, and I know from stippling them how shitty it is. Well, if I take that FCU in and out, and it's only being held in by a tab in the back and your pin in the front, and then I have a stack up of machining processes because of shit being made in Indonesia or whatever the hell it's made at, and that's another story another time, is all those stack ups plus the torque of a shitty polymer causing more issues.
And remember, we're talking about a distance that's coming down into the frame under the striker. And obviously this is exaggerated, right? But if that gun weren't a hammer-fired gun that used to require, as the P250, that the grip module still is, it's the same one. I've 3D printed them and put FCUs in them. It's the same grip. It needed a higher bore axis to accommodate the movement of the hammer. So now you've got this extension of these parts that comes down, and that means that any given movement of the slide laterally relative to the frame creates a longer travel of the bottom of that engagement, of the tab that comes down off the striker. So any amount of play is going to have a more dramatically negative effect on the engagement inside the gun at the trigger components because it's so tall. So again, if they had actually started from scratch and designed a striker-fired gun, I don't think they'd have these problems.
So could that be something that would probably be smart of them to do, is now at this point just go and redesign it?
I would imagine they could redesign the slide, potentially. I think they obviously could redesign the trigger components. I don't know why they would. I don't know why they wouldn't just at this point say, we've heard you, and what ends today is the manufacture of the SIG P320. And here's our new gun that comes out that they probably have in the works anyway. The next thing that they're going to come up with.
I think honestly,
take 2 years off.
I was talking to one of our LE distributors around here, and he thinks because I went to him and said, Mark, hey, what are you hearing from the LE side? Because I talked to the guys at shooters for the civilian side of it, with what they're seeing, and he's like, man, I'll be honest with you. He said, I think the fuse is their answer. He said, I really think the 365 fuse is their answer to replace the 320.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
what we said last week.
Happened in the industry.
That's exactly what we said.
Yeah, Michael Bain has pointed this out. Like the tiny subcompact stagger stacks that started with the 365 have been getting bigger, right? And you get the Hellcat Pro and the 365 Macro and the XLs and all this stuff. All those guns have been getting bigger.
The 48, the Glock 48,
the 48, and then the 48 with the shield mags. That's one of the problems we have is this gun. If it would have come out against the 48 when we wanted it to years ago, it'd have been awesome. But this gun, with the profile that it matches a 19, even though it's dramatically slimmer, people want to compare this to the 365. Well, the problem is the 365 isn't the 365 anymore for most people. Most people are carrying a larger gun, right? And the Glock 48 is still one of the most popular guns every quarter in terms of sales, and it ships as a 10-round gun that's thicker than this gun, right? But, so I get it as a new company, unproven. We don't have the distribution. We don't have the shelf space. We don't have the name recognition. We don't have the tail of the Glock 19 to ride on and all that. But Michael Bain was the one who pointed out to me, like, hey, by the way, if you look around, those tiny guns are getting bigger because they're easier to shoot when they're bigger. And honestly, a gun like a Glock 19 really doesn't have a place anymore. You either need a full-size duty gun or you need a carry gun that has a stagger stack capacity of the old Glock 19 in a smaller package with still a 4 or 4.5 inch barrel. So I do think that you guys are right. Like, forget about the next 320. Just give us the 365 duty size or the 365 fuse as the starting point. I think that would be the way to go.
So there's the fuse right there, just for ones that have never seen it before. That's what everybody's talking about right there.
Is that the duty size? Because the stippling on it looks like duty.
Nice. Hey, Zeke, I looked up what holster the Air Force used. They use the Safariland 7390 nylon holster. So it is state-of-the-art nylon blend, yada, yada.
Fancy.
Yeah.
So it's floppy.
It's fancy plastic.
Yeah, it's plastic.
Oh, okay.
It's hard plastic.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the fuse comes with a 2 21-round mags and one 17-round mag, and a 4.3 inch barrel.
Yeah, that's the right size.
Well, and that was something we talked about in the last episode. Is why you've got them there. Why not? I don't understand why they're so hung up on this 320. They
can't magically just start shipping fuses to the Army.
Yeah,
they could put it on the civilian market, but again, when you talk to the owners in Europe, they don't give a shit about the American civilian market. They need this gun to survive for the hundreds of millions of dollars in the military contract.
Well, and that was something
that is exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was something I was going to ask. If they were to stop now and go back to the drawing board, how would that affect the contract that they have?
No, they would be rebid. They'd have to go back to zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Rob, you being in the manufacturing sphere like you are, plus the training side is in from what I know of SIG's got 3 divisions. You got Austria, Germany, and then SIG USA. And my question is, does this potentially cause SIG USA to go bankrupt?
Yes.
You think?
I think that's a worst case scenario for the company. Is that they lose the military contract, which has been funding their growth, obviously, for the last many years, and the company just ceases to exist. It is European owned. It's a U.S. shell company like Glock USA and all the other ones are. There are people, I'm sure, in Europe that are already role playing that out. Like, when do we cut bait and just start fresh?
So, could this be something that
USA as a new company in 3 years or whatever, or maybe it already exists. Somebody do some Delaware corporate name searches.
So could this be something that maybe the European side knew could possibly happen?
I don't think it's nefarious like that. I think
Okay.
that I have no internal knowledge. I haven't been told anything, but my guess, having been involved in the industry on both sides of the Atlantic for a long time, is that all the moves that we've seen since the problem was first identified with the 45-degree angle drop problem have been dictated by European interests and the focus on the military contracts, not by U.S. PR teams. It's not a social media team. It's not Phil Strader, who's handling PR now. It's not anybody in New Hampshire that made these calls. And I would find that very hard to believe.
Yeah, it would be corporate suicide if they did something like that.
Right.
It was just something kind of popped in the head. Y'all are.
Well, they're also getting pushback on their freaking spear that's been adopted.
Yeah, I've only partially followed that. I'm shocked that happened in many different ways. If anything, I thought 6.5 Grendel was going to win that on ballistics and compatibility with existing portions of the weapon system. If there was going to be a new caliber, I really thought it was going to end up being 6.5 Grendel. I'm shocked that was the round that was adopted, and the supply chain on that and everything else. And obviously, I think that if they lose the 320, M17, M18, whatever, I think they lose that too.
Yeah, because some of the guys that I shooting with on the rifle side and all, and knowing those guys, I mean, and with some of their units, and they're running, some of the PDWs that are running the Rattlers and stuff like that. It's like they're SIG bought in, and with JSOC and all that, and just
I think the Rattler's a badass tool. I think the Rattler.
Yeah, but I think that SIG name is going to end up hurting everything.
Yeah.
But understand, everybody acts like they can't lose a contract. The M14 was there, and then she gone. I mean, they pulled stuff before, so it doesn't really matter with the military.
M14 barely made it into a war before it was gone.
Yeah. It was so bad they switched it over in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's been my biggest thing is that I can't wrap my head around is why there's still to me, it just seems like if you continue, you're only putting a black eye on the whole name in general.
Yeah, but they have to save this military contract. If they if the 320 dies, if they admit a serious design flaw or change it, I think the contract's done. The contract. I think one of the big questions I have on the airman's gun is, that gun has a manual safety, right?
I was just going to bring that up.
Was it engaged or not? And I don't know if we'll ever know that, but I am really curious about that aspect of that particular discharge.
Right. And I think there's going to be so many questions around all of that we're just not ever going to get the answers to.
I don't know how we can know, because as Brad brought up, what's the chain of custody on that? The MSP one is meticulously documented. I don't even know if it's true. It's so meticulously documented that they had the discipline to leave that gun in the holster and get it to the ballistic research facility and let them x-ray it and all the things they did before they even took the gun out of the holster. And the hood was closed, and yet the trigger was reset. So I don't know that slide has enough room to move with the hood rolled to reset the trigger. And the empty case was still in the chamber. So there was a lot of factors in that report that make me scratch my head. I'm either really impressed with the discipline, really confused about the amount of space that slide has to move inside the holstered gun with the hood up. There's a lot of questions I have about that. But MSP is a pretty regimented group. I was just teaching at the Michigan Tactical Officers Conference. I mean, they are some by the book motherfuckers.
So that's how much I can move it to reset the trigger.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. I'm less concerned about it now. I believe it could move that much in the holster, especially under pressure. So even if it pushed the plastic a little bit, all right, if that's all that slide has to move.
Yeah, that's literally. I mean, it's hard to see on that video on that camera, but
No,
I mean,
All right,
if that's all it
maybe
has to move, it has that much space, I'm sure.
with Spear, with the next generation squad weapon contract, it's a 10-year, $2.7 billion contract.
That's a lot of money to lose.
If they keep it, they lose the pistol contract. I don't know if that the Department of Defense doesn't just in general say we're gonna go over here for a minute.
Well, see, that was going to be my next question: is if they were to lose the pistol, do they lose the rifle?
And again, call Alexander Arms and go back to the 6.5 Grendel, and let's have an American company get the Department of Defense contract for American rifles and pistols. Get Smith & Wesson in there and Alexander Arms, and let's move forward.
Yeah, the Legion's the same way, Brad.
Yeah. No, I mean the mechanism there is not going to change.
Right.
It is because literally the only difference between the standard 320 Pro versus the X5 Legion is just some of the ancillary components in the grip module, and just the way it's, but as far as the FCU and all that, it's all the same. And that is why I really think a lot of the problem is just some of the MIM parts that's being used in the stack ups, and like Rob said, that high bore axis, which I think I shoot well because I've always been a 1911 shooter, but I think that the stack ups in maybe some of that high bore axis with some of the polymer that they've used for your standard duty style 320, I think that's contributing to most of the issue here.
All right, I'm convinced. I'm making an executive, founder, president, gun company decision. Let us know in the comments if you want to send me your 320 and some money for shipping, and get a PD10 as your replacement carry gun. Hit me up in the comments. I want to see who's ready for this.
What's the MSRP on the PD10?
$625.
Oh no, I've got a Scorpion. I'm not going to do that.
I'm not gonna. I mean, if there's 1,000 people in the comments, I don't have that many guns. Everybody knows I'm a waiting log, so like limited to 50 people. But let's just see.
First come, first serve, right?
There you go.
If there was 1,000 people in the comments,
I'd make the guns.
we'd be surprised.
Right.
You have 1,000 views. I'll be surprised.
Right.
You said P320 this week. You're going to have views.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, for sure.
True.
Oh, yeah.
True.
The algorithm's going to throw that in overdrive.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
My question
Is
is
that all
too.
we're
Like I was talking.
about? Do you guys have any other topics?
We can roll with it. My question is, how much are I was talking to Chris. Is, how many incidences with the 320 are not being reported though? Probably a lot.
Hey, I got one better for you though. Just going back to the Remington 700 thought process. How many incidents are being reported, are being blamed on a uncommanded discharge that, it's SIG's problem, when it was actually somebody fucked with it?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of it. I really believe that's a lot of it, because they're always ready to blame something else, even the service, every government agency. I mean, we still had dudes getting shot with 1911s when I was in the Corps, and they were trying to blame it on something. It was like, yeah, bruh, it's a 100-year-old design. That was probably you.
I just got contracted by an attorney for me to review a Marlin 444 that blew up in this dude's hand and jacked him up, sent him to trauma center, and they were all ready to sue Marlin. They was all ready to do their thing until I was able to prove that 33% of the rounds in the box was reloads.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That'll do it.
Yeah, well, it's like and then you want to argue with me, and the guy goes, the attorney goes, your expert witness just said that it was not the gun.
Well, and bouncing back to what you were talking about with the military, Tony, if you think about, look at the Osprey. When the Osprey first released, how many Marines did it kill before they ironed out all the kinks? And what got me is and Zeke, you talk about the psychological aspect, is when we got ready to go to CAX, they were putting every one of us on Osprey. And I'm sitting here, you got that in the back of your mind as you're taking off, like, how many have just crashed? and killed other Marines. So, I mean, yeah, there is. Go ahead.
Some of our weapon system has killed lots of people.
Think about how many Glocks just went off during the transition training in the late 80s and the early 90s to cops who were used to double action, single action guns. And that was never the gun. That was always the person. But those just went off because people did dumb shit with a gun that didn't work like the old gun they had. But I don't. And that's if I were in an earlier generation, if I were even fucking older, maybe I would be saying the Glock was a poor design for the intended task for the generation of officers that were brought up with double action, single action guns. And maybe
there were people saying that.
Done the transition was to let those officers keep carrying double action, single action guns and start the transitions in the academy with here's your modern striker fire gun and let those coexist for a decade as the older guys phased out, right? Maybe that would have reduced the number of negligent discharges when you switch over to Glock.
Hey, Rob. No, a lot of the people transition from double action revolvers
that's true,
to Glocks.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. That's why our department went to DASA.
Yep. You guys
because it was too much of a switch. Well, no, they came from revolvers and they went to double action, single action Smiths, and then they went to double action, single action USPs.
Oh, the variant 7? The decock?
Double action only would have,
Oh, double action. Yeah, I was issued one of those. I was on a SWAT team supposed to be doing like SWAT shit, and I had a double action only 40 Smith & Wesson USP, like the 12-pound spongiest worst trigger ever issued to humanity. And then they gave us UMP 40s to go with it. And the UMP 40 was such trash that I traded it back in, and I was carrying around a 10-inch AR with a pigtail fucking gas tube that barely worked, but I still would rather have that than the damn UMP with a fixed stock craziness.
That trigger is the trigger that everybody has nightmares about when they first start carrying a gun, and they have that nightmare where they can't pull the trigger and the guy's coming at them.
I'm still trying to fire the last shot on a qual course. That trigger is still moving in my mind.
What was it?
Like 2001.
Dude, I just remember the first time I pulled the DASA was the M9. When I was, as a civilian, I was trying to figure out what carry gun I wanted. And, I had the 1911 in the Marine Corps. So I'm trying to do this double action thing, and I'm pulling the trigger, and I'm pulling the trigger, and I'm in the point, and then I just started looking at the gun from the side like, when is this thing going to go?
I don't know. I think there is a appropriate heaviness and length of pull for a duty carry gun. And I think coming back to the 320, I think they missed on both, especially the length of pull, and then to not have a tab safety on it just creates that much more opportunity for some asshole to stick a screw in the trigger assembly and have the gun go off.
I'm pissed off because none of my 320s came with that screw. I'm going to contact
Zeke.
Go to the
Zeke, I'll send you one.
I'll send you one. Home Depot.
They have a 6.
Yeah, it's got to be the fastener out. Now they got a fast. Nice.
It's a forced detonation.
I'm making a TikTok tomorrow. I'm going to Home Depot and I'm going to be like, I'm going to the SIG aisle at Home Depot, and I'm just going to turn it to the screws.
I screenshot the video. I'm going to go to Home Depot and say, I want that screw.
Yeah, right. I want this screw.
That one.
Actually, I'll go the other way. Home Depot banned this screw from their inventory because of all the 320 incidents in Wyoming.
Yep.
You can no longer buy that screw.
It ends today.
In Wyoming.
Oh, fuck.
Here's the crazy part here in New Jersey. SIG lost the contract in the New Jersey State Police Department. The New Jersey State Police kicked SIG out because their 329 DAC wasn't working either.
They got
rid of them, and they went back to Glocks.
So that's the same agency that had a squeeze cocker, for Christ's sake. So
they had a squeeze cocker, so they have more money than brains. But also New Brunswick PD had it too.
And they dress like they're invading Poland next week. So,
well, you know why that is. That goes way back
My wife's
to
gonna be,
Schwarzkopf.
my wife's gonna be pissed because all the rest of tonight I'm just gonna be saying squeeze cocker all
Squeeze cocker.
Squeeze cocker.
Squeeze cocker.
Is that
That should be a T-shirt.
Yes.
that's somebody's nickname? I'm sure.
It was Clayton's.
God damn.
Clayton's new nickname is Squeeze Cocker. We have dubbed him tonight.
That's what.
Nice.
That's what,
It's no longer.
that's what he's going to be doing to me when we get to GOA.
Nice. It's no longer going to be slot liquor.
Squeeze cocker.
No, it's Clayton's
Squeeze cocker.
squeeze cocker.
Clayton Squeeze
Clayton's-
Cocker.
Oh,
Okay,
me.
I'm good with that. I'm down. Mind me next week.
So, this being, could it be something where, because it seems like what you're talking about, Rob, is, it seems like it's mainly something in the trigger. Could it be something, since it's that is trigger is modular the way that it is, they could redesign that without doing the whole thing?
Only in as much as you could have a lot of play, and this goes back to what Brad keeps talking about with the variations of the grips. And I do think like the Wilson Combat grip is a better grade of polymer in there. It's probably a higher nylon content, probably a higher glass content, so it's stiffer. But if you take that FCU in and out, you're going to wear on that gap that the tab slips into in the back, and that's going to allow vertical play. And that vertical play is a big part of this issue. And that's why you see that guy in the video press down on the front of the slide. That's picking up on the back. So because the FCU is only pinned in one place, there's play back here. So if that's floating, which is then going to be what you're dealing with when you start twisting it, pushing down on the front picks the back of the slide up and increases what that torque is doing in terms of the interaction between the pieces on the inside. I'm not saying that's okay. I'm pointing to that as a factor that contributes to if you then also stick a screw in your trigger and fuck around.
I think it's just stack ups.
Yeah.
I think it's all just stack ups.
And then in the
same
MSP report, they talk about doing high-speed video with one of the Phantom cameras and seeing the striker bounce under recoil, move up and down as the gun is cycling. Well, if you put any gun on high motion or high speed video, slow motion video, you're going to see some weird twists and movements. I remember doing a series of promotional videos for Daniel Defense at one point, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, with one of those cameras, and we showed why a free floated handguard is so important, because the barrel was whipping up and down.
The barrel flexes.
That free floated handguard on that was the DD M4 back then, I think, or V5 maybe, M4, whatever it was. It's a couple generations ago, but people will be surprised how much parts really move under recoil. And that contribute, when you see it moving, again, that height and that looseness of the interaction between the tab that gets stuck into the back of the polymer, that all plays a role.
Well, so it's the same thing if you take a Mossberg 500 trigger group out.
Sure.
It's pinned in the front. Same thing. Slots go in the front. Got one single cross pin in the back, and the more somebody takes it in and out, takes it in and out, it wears those. If they don't break them, it wears them down, and it is loose for it to come out. So it's the same thing. You just have a piece of polymer moving inside a piece of metal inside of a polymer, or vice versa, and at some point in time, it's all about stack ups. And
that's hammer fired, correct?
What's that?
The
Yes,
500.
yes.
So what's happening there is while you have that play, at least everything is sort of playing together. That's important, and then that's why the P250 doesn't have this problem, and the 320.
No. I was just relating it to how the FCU and the SIG goes in, where you just got one end that pivots in, and then you got one cross pin.
Play. But the problem is you also have surfaces that are bearing between the top and the bottom. And the bottom isn't secure. The bottom's moving. The top is always static, and that's allowing different engagements of those parts. That's the problem. Whereas with a hammer-fired gun, like the 320 originally was, as the 250, the hammer is in that bottom part, in the FCU. So you don't have to worry about the movement up and down. Everything that's important is moving together in that play. Whereas now you've got play at the bottom and twist play at the top, and that's where the two things aren't playing nice together.
What made them redesign? Why not just go with the 250?
The trigger was a heavy double action type
Okay, I'll be honest. I've never shot one,
they wanted to go to a strike. They wanted a striker fired design because that's what everybody was moving to. They just didn't. Again, I don't feel like they didn't do what they did with the 365, which was put in the work to design an original striker fired gun that was from the beginning intended to be a striker fired gun. They just retrofitted, and again, Grand Power just did it, 5 or 6 years ago with their rotating barrel hammer fired gun and turned it into, I think, the KP1 or whatever it was. They turned it into a striker fired gun. There's like 9 of them have been sold, so nobody, so you don't have the Serpa effect where if there were 1,000 of them out there, maybe that gun suffers from exactly the same types of problems. But I doubt it, just because of the way that gun is built. It's built like a tank. But they don't have the sheer volume of numbers for anybody to decide if it's incredibly good or incredibly bad yet.
Could that and I'm assuming that's probably why we see it more with the military and the law enforcement, is there's way more in that market than what there is anywhere else right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You've got a huge portion of guns, and there's a lot of them in the private sector too. But I think that one of the reasons this is getting so much traction is it's happening in a much more high-profile way in front of body cameras and dash cameras and cameras inside of police departments. It's just getting caught on tape more. But go back. We've seen plenty of these types of negligent discharges, but there's almost always movement, right? We have yet to see the video where somebody's standing completely still and the gun just goes off.
Well, there was one somebody I'd seen, but even then, the video's like a Bigfoot video. It's very grainy. There's no sound. They're saying like it was in her like some backpack or something. She sat it down and dropped to the ground
or whatever.
Yeah, you know which one. Yeah. Like, I mean, you can't really tell anything in that video.
Yeah, I just can't.
And there's no sound
seriously
either, so you can't see. I mean, you can't even hear
So this is my thing on it. All right, again, like not to keep going back to what Colin said, but there is smoke, there is a fire somewhere, and Rob got a good point. Is what the platform's designed for, and we all have talked about all night tonight about the stack ups and things like that. I think the failure on SIG is the PR part. Is they should have got in front of this shit and it didn't, and now you've got everybody on this anti-SIG bandwagon. There's nothing good going to come out of this.
And they also could have put a tab on that trigger when they did the first recall update, whatever,
right?
And probably avoided 90% of this, or at least have some plausible deniability to, hey, here's another way this couldn't have happened, because the dude with the screw, that tab would have to have been depressed in order for him to get the trigger to move enough to get his screw in there.
Right.
So we'd say you're clearly defeating a safety that everybody could see in his video. What people can't see is he's also defeating an internal safety by moving that trigger back, but you can't see it, so it looks worse than it really is.
Right. I mean, there's no doubt that these things have been going off. There's no doubt that they've gone off. There's unfortunately somebody's lost their life. Several people have been injured significantly. There's no doubt. The thing about it is you hear those that are the complete anti-SIG bandwagon folks that are saying, well, what else do you need? What else do you need? And I'm like, well, I need a chain of custody. I need to see something that can be quantified and qualified, and not just an opinion. Again, the MSP one is the only one that I've seen where it went through to the FBI to be able to show some chain of custody, to show something, and even then there's some discrepancy.
The problem is they don't have an inspection on that gun after the armorer installed the new part. And they clearly show that there's something going on with the way that engagement pin or that spring was stuck on that little nub, right? And they talk about how the top of it isn't engaged and the bottom of it's moving, but there's no way when that part is properly installed that it can move off of the little nub and actually deactivate it. It just kind of floats in there. And they're saying, well, that could be a design issue. Well, Yeah, but if the part's in the gun, right? Again, you can take parts of this gun apart and say, well, look, the spring that's on the slide stop is only captured on one end; it's not captured on the other. Yeah, but it's also sandwiched between the rail block and the frame, so there's no place for it to go.
Right.
It has to stay where it is, unless it's installed poorly. So if this gun goes out of my presence and somebody admits they changed the spring and we never take a picture of it or see a picture of it or inspect it, and then something goes wrong, and they say, well, here's what we've learned after the fact. It's like, okay, but you had an armorer in there that did something, and in this case, it's a SIG certified armorer, so it's some portion of it still falls back on SIG. But I do think that's a question. Is okay, you had a tolerance issue in the gun. You sent replacement parts. They were installed. How were they installed? Were they installed properly? And is that where that chip happened in that MIM part, which you saw under the microscopic style photo, where it had that 10% of the surface area actually engaging? Was that damage that was caused when the parts were installed, or when the armorer worked on the gun, or did it come from the factory like that? I think that's an important question in terms of SIG's culpability. But guess what? Get rid of the MIM parts and you get rid of that issue.
For sure.
My thing, I know these government contracts are huge. I mean, you're talking big money with this stuff, but how far do you go, or how close do you get driving your company into the ground just to try to keep a contract?
Oh, I think that company doesn't exist without that contract. Yeah. I think that they have leveraged everything into those government contracts.
When you think
about all the acquisitions and infrastructure build they've done over the last 7-8 years, based on these $1 billion over 10-year contracts. I mean, they have built for the future. Those contracts go away, and I don't know what's left.
I think you said it earlier. If they lose this 320 contract for the M18, M17 stuff, if they lose that contract, they lose all of it.
Well, the good news is the guy is at the helm of SIG right now has already ran one company into the ground with Kimber's reputation, and they're just getting that back now. So in 2055, you'll buy SIGs again.
We are an industry that forgets quickly when something cool comes out. HK in their article about, this is only for military and law enforcement. How long did that take?
Well, that guy never. He never came back, but HK did.
Just social media in general, stuff moves so quickly now with just social media in general. That's why, I hate to say it, I really think eventually this is going to turn into the Epstein files. It's just going to kind of get swept under the rug. It's going to go away. People are going to be like, oh no, you're going to get the whole, that didn't.
I think that if they keep the military contract, I think the 320 is essentially dead in the law enforcement and private sector. And all you're going to see is the manual safety versions for the military are going to be what they make. And you'll see some SIG diehards, collectors, whatever, with those guns. And they'll either switch to the Fuse as their primary gun, or they'll have the Fuse Plus or whatever with a 5-inch barrel. And the company will survive. But I think the 320 is practically and functionally dead in the consumer market.
Well,
without a big change.
I think you're right. I agree.
And if they have a big change, they lose the military contract, which they can't afford to lose.
And my thing too is you talking about moving to a 5-inch barrel. My experience with the military, very few units had handguns. So
I think
that's my thing. If they're,
but yeah,
and you might be right. My experience was it was mainly your frontline people that carried handguns. Now, if you were with someone, if you got attached to those units, then you had to carry a handgun, go through the rifle or the handgun qualification. But the handgun qualification course I took was, honest to God, that was pretty much just making sure I knew how to use the gun and I could at least hit something of the target.
Yeah, but it was a contract. It includes ammunition, remember, and it really was their foot in the door to get the Spear contract. So I think that
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that
It was a
that was a big
$500
part of it.
million foot in the door. It was a $500 million foot in the door to get a $2 billion contract.
Because some part
Okay,
of
I
that
didn't know that.
discussion
I
is,
thought the
well,
spirit.
we're already buying all this stuff from them. That had to be a few points in their favor when push came to shove.
See, I thought the
And can we
spirit
go
came
ahead and
first, and then the
say
P320 came.
what a lot of people want to tip around? Understand when you're talking $500 million contracts to $2 billion contracts, there are a lot of personnel in the procurement of these firearms that retire and get a job with SIG corporate.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there will definitely be guys who are supporting the deployment of that weapon system from the private sector into the public sector as contractors. On the GS side and on the SIG corporate side.
So now you leave your job as a colonel, as a lieutenant colonel, as a major, and land a six-figure job that you help with SIG. I'm just saying, dude. We can't forget
What?
that part too.
What if you? So, let's say it's gone with the law enforcement side of it and stuff. What if you go and rebuild or revamp?
Well, again, I think
Push
if
it back
they
into the law.
significantly change the design, then it calls the military contract into question. And it's
But do you think if they redid it, pushed it into the pushed into the law enforcement market and saw that it had improvements, and then go, well, I don't know. I guess contracts. Yeah, I don't. That's my biggest thing. I don't fully understand the contracts. I mean, could they come out with a new one, push it to the law enforcement side, and then go over to the military and be like, "Hey, we think this might be a better option for you."
Anything can happen, but those contracts are written specifically. Like when I get a contract for training with USASOC, I couldn't say, okay, you got an extreme close quarters counter ambush contract. I'm going to teach you a vehicle defense class. Like it had to meet the requirements of the contract that I bid for and that I was awarded. I couldn't just arbitrarily change it and say, okay, here's what you're getting instead.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Also, understand those law enforcement contracts weren't probably canceled by gun people. They were canceled by administrators that see SIG and they don't want to see SIG again. They don't know the difference between the SIG, P220 and the P220, 3220, excuse me, the SIG P320 and the SIG P320A1 that they come out with. To them, it's the same thing. Buy a Glock, buy a Smith, buy something else. SIG is done with some of these places because these aren't gun people they're dealing with. They're administrators and lawyers. I mean, again, SIG could have done something with the P229 contract they had with the state police, but the state police was like, nah, we'll go to Glock. Have a great day. Take this garbage back.
Well, that's my thing. You had what, like the SEALs using, and some of the Special Forces side using the P226?
226 forever.
226.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why not just roll that one out all the way?
DASA.
Yep.
There were a lot of teams switching the Glocks. We have on the Army side too. We'd have guys come. I had one team come through where one of the team sergeants had like kind of argued with me about some of the techniques we were teaching, overhand rack or whatever. And he's like, the only gun I'm ever going to use is an M9 Beretta 92, and this gun has a giant slide release. Why wouldn't I just use it? Blah blah blah. And like after deployment, like 18 months later, he was back at Valhalla with a Glock 19 for a low profile deployment. Like I know what you're going to say. Like, I guess the M9's not the only handgun you're ever going to use.
That was the handgun that I had to use, was the Beretta 92. I hated that thing. God,
I loved it. I mean, for a big gun, I shot it really well. That was actually the first. Not only did I, learn to use it in the military,
I think
I was issued one by law enforcement agency too. I like them. I mean, they're too big to carry, but they're good shooters, and I guess I have a nostalgia effect for them too, though.
Well, and I think I hated it because it was just so clunky, because so many people had used it before me, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you might have had a baby rattle one.
Pretty much. And I didn't have that screw, so I mean that didn't help me either.
Made it way harder to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm gonna have a tactical screw T-shirt when I get to goals.
I'm patting everybody down at the class tomorrow, making sure they don't have any screws in their pocket.
You should, just to see what they do. They're probably going to be like, "What the hell is he talking
Line
about?"
up. Mm-hmm. Turn your pockets out. Put your hands on your head.
Wow, that sounds like my job.
I don't trust any of this.
Making Tony think he's at work.
I'm going to need permission to touch
Only left out, bend over and cough.
Fit a screw in there.
Yeah, don't forget those cavity searches. Get your rubber gloves out.
Oh my God! Really?
Hey,
really?
Tony, hey,
We warned you.
You never know what
we fucking warned you.
you never know what Tony's going to pull out. He's got his little shelf behind his camera that has his box of tricks.
That's his damn OnlyFans corner.
You guys watch South Park?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the new one with Trump, but
so
is it good?
No, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
So well done. They've got to have no boundary whatsoever.
Good. That's the way it should be.
Yes,
with comedy.
Exactly.
I applaud them.
Exactly.
Well played.
Yeah.
That comedy should be like that, man. That's the way comedy should be. You know, I mean, you should be able to. I mean, if anything, that's what comedy is there for to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't get butthurt.
And they spent the whole last couple of seasons just destroying the whole woke DEI stuff.
Oh yeah.
So now they flippity flopped and they're going after the Trumpster and a little bit of Jesus. Good for them.
Because it's all funny.
Well, just like Shane Gillis at the ESPYs. I mean, he made
awesome.
he made fun of everybody.
His opening monologue was classic.
And I mean, to me, a lot of people say, I think it was a tribute to kind of Norm Macdonald when he did the ESPYs.
Oh yeah.
Because if you watch that one, I mean, that dude, Norm Macdonald was so, dude, if that would have been Norm Macdonald doing that same one he did back in, what was that, 97, 98, something like that. Now, could you imagine the heads that would be spinning on that? But the whole
then.
Well, and I honestly, man, I think they should have just had cameras on the crowd. Don't even put cameras on Shane Gillis. Just put cameras on the crowd, because that was hilarious looking at all those people just sit there, because and you could tell it was like, I don't want to laugh, I might get canceled.
Yeah, I might get in trouble.
Oh yeah. You can see them wanting to laugh in their face.
Athletes have changed over from just being real people to even being out of control, like personalities, to people that are trying to have that secondary career while the first one's going on. So they want to be politically correct, so they can get the Nike contract, so they can get the big money contract.
And that's sad, because I'm sorry, I don't watch the NFL because I want to know what's going on in politics. I don't watch the MLB or any of this stuff because I want to know what's going on in politics.
I watch women's basketball because I want to see really great athletes that are masters of the game.
Did they have
I'm sorry.
Did they get?
Wow.
That was the best joke of the night. The Caitlin Clark joke when she retires working at Waffle House. That was the joke of the night for me.
Oh,
that was
to me. It was when he pointed out his friend's wife and said,
the WNBA. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. The Deshaun Watson one was pretty dang good too.
Hey, girl.
It's just, oh man, that was so great. Honestly, I'm shocked they picked him to host it. I really am.
My whole thing is I'm not a sports guy, so a lot of the things like over my head, but the lady who didn't even play in basketball, and they all gave him the clapping. Oh yes,
Biden's press secretary, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. She did look like her though.
Oh,
yeah, she did look like. No, that was his friend's wife. It was one of his friends that was there in the audience. It was his wife.
Now, he told him he was planning on doing that joke, and that's why his friend was cracking up on the side, because he couldn't believe he did it.
Yeah, that was great. I'm really shocked they even got him to do that, especially with it being Disney and stuff.
He won't be back next year.
That's fine.
That weekend is free for him next year.
That's perfectly
We're
fine.
going to get to the point where there's no more comedy. People are just going to go up. Here is the award for this. Here is the award for this. Here is the. That's
does the British guy still do the award shows?
No, he got shut down with his last one. He went no holds barred.
Oh, I wish he was. God, I can't think of his name.
Wasn't Eddie?
He is Richard Gervais.
Richard. Yep. Oh my God, yes, he was hilarious. Yeah, you'll never see. Yeah, you won't see that again. But the scary thing is you're right, man. It could lead to something like that. And really, what was the tipping point right now is Will Smith when he walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock.
That's amazing. That was awesome.
I don't know, man. I'm still on the fence thinking it was a political, it was a stunt to draw more attention, but with them banning him like they did and stuff. But but if you watch like I've watched some of Gary Owen's stuff, even some of what's his name? That always does the Shaq impression.
Oh, you talking about Jimmy Kimmel?
No. The black guy that always does the Shaq. What is it? Spears, Ari Spears, or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Ari Spears.
Yeah, I've seen some of the clips where people in the audience have literally got up and started going toward the stage because they were upset about a joke. And he was like, "You paid to be here."
Exactly. You signed up for this.
I'm just tired of that bullshit. It's like, some people just, I swear, just want to bitch.
Comedy's an equalizer that brings everybody together if they can just loosen up.
Yeah, you got to be able to take a joke. Now, but I do think like the Will Smith thing is you're offending my wife and I have to defend her honor. I think he legitimately had that reaction. I don't know if it was the right reaction, but if you look, do your thing, man.
If you look right after he told that joke, Will Smith is laughing his ass off. And then
he's laughing until his wife looked over.
Yeah, he looked over and he saw her and he was like,
"What are you gonna do?
I got to do something now."
Every one of us has the wife we had to answer to at one point. Rob's had 8 of them, but we've all looked over and was like, "Oh Lord, I can't laugh at this because she's in the room."
I didn't marry all of them.
All I'm saying, Rob, if you would have just married women from third world countries, houses are much cheaper over there.
Yeah, but no, he did, and he brings them over here.
Oh my God!
So anyway,
Rob, just leave him there.
Stick a screw in the
Rob, all you had to do was keep them in their home country.
You got to take a joke. You got to be like, oh wait, they're making fun of my marriages.
Oh, Rob, if you'd have just left them there, you could have sent them a double wide, and you'd have been fine.
That's such an old line of.
Don't send them to South Carolina.
I can't.
I'm in North Carolina. I'm only 10 miles away from the border.
This is not happening.
Yeah, see, the thing with Rob is he wanted women with all their original teeth.
Good point.
That's true. That is true.
Good point.
Yeah, almost all original parts, honestly. Oh.
You notice he said almost all.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, what's the almost?
We know what the almost
Rob
is.
is very inclusive.
Rob's just making sure there's no mem parts.
No,
he's trying to make sure there are no men parts.
No men or mim parts. And no men parts either.
He's trying to make sure a screw's not stuck in him.
And also that if you have a screw stuck in you, you are not eligible for marriage, ma'am. I'm gonna get in trouble. I can say whatever about SIG. Now I'm gonna get in trouble. Now you're gonna get me
Yeah,
canceled.
maybe I should slow down on this tequila.
Yeah, really.
Squeeze cocker.
Squeeze.
That's what Rob's trying to avoid.
Why am I not?
He's trying to avoid the squeeze cocker.
Why am I not?
I'm not drinking. I don't drink anymore.
It's because it's early, because I'm on New Mexico desert time.
Hold on.
I was about to say, yeah, it's only like, what, 7 o'clock out there.
Oh, I'm glad Tony had pants on.
Yep.
I just put them on to stand up.
He pulled him up. All that moving around he was doing was pulling him up.
Brad's dog took his pants off hours ago.
He didn't have to move that much.
It's probably down the road somewhere doing that little shit.
He didn't have to move that much. Did you see that jar of Vaseline?
Yeah.
That was my Saturday night jar of Vaseline.
Is it Saturday? It is Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
That it is.
Hey, Zeke, where were you at this year for Train and Learn?
We are in some restructuring at the school, and we're doing a bunch of stuff, so I wasn't able to be there. Yeah. I will leave it at that.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a prediction question. SIG, like on Wednesday, put out a statement of sadness for the airmen, right? And then turned off all the comments on their social media.
Smart move.
When do you think their next official statement will be? Not you won't do. I don't want to what it's going to be, but when do you think they will next say something official on the 320 situation?
When there's another incident.
End of the investigation.
With the investigation from the Air Force?
Maybe.
I think
they're going to be.
I think
by Wednesday you will see something from. I don't know what, but I think that they are working with their European masters to determine what they're going to say, and I think that in the first half of this coming week we will see another official statement. And I if I had to guess, it's that they are going to be forming a task force of outside gunsmiths and members of the law enforcement community or something like that to investigate the most recent reports of uncommanded fires.
I was going to say about a week.
That's what they're going to do, but I don't know.
I was going to say about a week.
So you think?
Do you think they bring in?
Hold on, Chris. Was that Rob? You think the end of the week?
No, I think by Wednesday.
Yeah, I was going to say by the end of the week.
Well, they definitely. I mean, truthfully, it wouldn't be smart for them to wait for the end of a military investigation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree.
But do you think they bring in complete independent investigators on this, like people that aren't connected to SIG?
Well, if they were smart, what they would do is they would hire a law firm that works in the gun industry that has not been retained by them previously. And there's a few good companies out there, a few good law firms that specialize. They work with the NSSF and NASDW all the time. They would hire one of those law firms to oversee an independent audit of all the tolerances, all the engineering drawings, all of that, and bring in people from law enforcement agencies, from MGS graduates, whatever. Like, bring in people who have worked in the gun industry and are qualified objectively to examine gun parts and gun designs and come to a conclusion. I think that would be the smartest thing.
But I think what you just said, though, is the key to look at it objectively.
Yeah.
And because the waters, regardless of how bad we all think this is and how much we've all talked for the last 2 hours about it, it's the waters have been muddied with opinions, and some of the opinions have not been off of fact; it's just been off innuendo. Mm-hmm. And it's don't get wrong, there has been some incidences of shit that's taken place. There's no doubt. The cause of those incidents is what's the speculation.
It could be a screw. The world's an imperfect place. Screws fall out all the time.
Truthfully, I believe that Rob's.
Go ahead. And to Rob's point about bringing in those independent contractors and the people who look at it, the law firms, if they have a multi-billion-dollar government contract, I guarantee, well, I'm not going to guarantee, I hope they've already done that. Because if they haven't, they're not being run properly.
But I don't think anybody's going to believe anything they say.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I believe Rob is
I'm
right.
not going to take their word for it at this point, unless they come out and say, "Yeah, we've been lying the whole time, and we are Remington, and we've known since we released the gun and since we did the first update, we've known there's these potential problems, and fuck us, we were wrong. We're sorry. We're going to pay out damages, and we're going to take all the guns back in, and we're going to go bankrupt." Unless that's what they say, I don't think anybody's buying what they say. And that's why I think a law firm overseeing, I mean, bring in an engineer from Canik and bring in an armorer from NYPD or Chicago PD, someplace that hasn't adopted the gun, Texas State Police, you bring in, or whatever they call it, Department of Freedom and Justice or whatever.
Public safety in Texas, public safety.
Whatever it is, yeah. For DPS, you bring in those people and you put them in a room for 2 weeks and you pay them and you sequester them like a jury, but they have to have access. They have to have essentially subpoena power to see all the data and all the drawings and samples of parts from different guns and different runs and all the reports from police departments and emergency rooms and agencies and all that, and stick them in a room for 2 weeks and let them come up with a special prosecutor kind of an investigation that's overseen by a law firm, or get Deloitte to come in, get an auditing firm to come in and go over it. There are companies out there that do this kind of stuff. They audit corporate malfeasance, because that's essentially what this is. It's an accusation of corporate malfeasance. What did SIG know that has now allowed this situation to develop? What has happened?
I think they do part of that, and I think that's the problem with SIG, because they don't learn. So they'll probably have DJ Shipley and the guys from GBRS Group come in and sequester in the room, and they're all going to come out and say the damn thing works great.
They're not
and it's the best thing since sliced bread. No, they won't invite the screw guy, but they're going to invite the dudes that suckle at the teeth of SIG.
They're going to have like three
all the
cockers and a gun bunny in a room.
Nice. Oh, and by the way, if you don't, hey Zeke, you recognize this glass?
Why should I? Wait, what is that?
This is the one you handed to me at SHOT Show on your way down the escalator.
And of course, you
wow. It's awesome.
Mother effers never doubt that I can pull shit from off screen.
That's impressive.
You are the black carrot top, Tony.
All of my dreams have come true. Life goals achieved.
Oh, I just got a text that says SIG has officially retained Tex Grebner. Okay, we're good.
Mama! If his mom's not on the contract, it's not real.
Significant member of this audience has no clue about Tex Grebner.
I know, we're old. That makes us officially OGs.
Oh, 100%.
Does everybody on the podcast know about that reference?
I hope so.
I bet Slotlicker don't.
I don't.
Squeeze Cocker doesn't. Okay, so there's a guy he was a YouTuber named Tex Grebner, and he had a 1911 and a Serpa. And he shoots himself in the hip and decides to put it on YouTube. And he shoots himself and then goes,
I just fucking shot myself. And he was on a episode of Tosh.0 on Comedy Central over that video. Yeah, I just fucking shot myself. I was like,
and that was great. But when he said, I got to call my mom.
Yeah.
I know.
That was like,
that made it better.
Was he calling his mom because she's a nurse, or was it to say goodbye?
I think she was a nurse.
All the above.
Just research. Just Google Tex Grebner shot himself, and then you'll find it.
I think I've got the video saved somewhere. I'll send it to you.
You and everybody else, including his mom.
I'm gonna go ahead and
she can't watch
lead us in to. We've been on here about 2 hours, fellas. I know I had a class today. Rob, you had a class today.
I got another one tomorrow.
I'm starting to wear thin. So I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody kind of give their final thoughts on the 320. What do you think is going to happen? I know, Rob, you said in a week, Wednesday, they release a statement. You're saying
I don't know
bring
what
in
it's going to say.
independent.
Like I said, I know what it should say, what I would tell them to say, but I think they will have to release some kind of a statement sooner rather than later, because things have just cascaded. This, what I call the bandwagon banning, is just getting out of control. They're going to have to say something.
Well, it goes back to things now are more perception is reality. And right now the perception is the 320 is going off by itself. Even though, like a lot of people have said, there's no really true official documentation or video evidence to show the gun is actually going off by itself. And like I said earlier, it's the videos that are there, it's your Bigfoot videos that are so grainy. There's no sound. You just can't tell what's going on. The picture of the UFO that's flying by in the background is what caused it to magically go off by itself. So, I mean, but like you talked about, Zeke, there's still that very slight percentage of doubt that people are going to have.
Yeah. It's like, I think, Chris, I can't remember if it was you or Clayton I was talking to about this. It's like when you first start carrying a firearm, you have that doubt. You're like, oh my gosh, should I appendix? Oh my God, I like my penis. I don't want to shoot my cock off. Should I carry over here? Oh my God, it just hit my seatbelt. You have those doubts until you've trained and you've carried and you've trained and you've trained, and then you're like, no big deal. Then you get a 320 and you carry it. And you're like, hey, I'm still in the same route I was in with my Glock 19, but now this stuff starts happening. And that little echo from back when you first started carrying creeps in your head. Even if it's not right, that echo's there. And it's hard for you to shake that psychology of that little bitty bit of doubt. And that's where I actually, I mean, we all have our opinions on SIG. As a businessman, I feel sorry for SIG as a business. No matter what we have thoughts of them as a business, just the core, it being a business, I'm a businessman, I feel sorry for them having to fight that battle.
Exactly. Well, no, I mean, everybody on the screen is a businessman. So, yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you on that one. I mean, this from a business aspect, this absolutely sucks 100%.
I don't. Fuck everybody. If I had books and people looked at them, they would say, "I don't think you're serious, Rob."
Yeah, I'm there too. It's like Tony. It's not a business; it's a hobby. I think Rob is right. I don't think SIG can afford to again set out.
Now take my
All right, episode's over. Everybody have a good night.
I'm one of the few people that Rob hasn't given a wedding ring. I'm one of the few people that Rob hasn't given a wedding ring.
Your mouth.
He's gonna smack you if he sees you.
I don't know any of their names.
At this point.
So, but I really believe that SIG will have a statement, and I think it'll start off, fellas, we're really fucking serious. It ends today. I think that's how it'll start off. But they're going to F this up because they're screwing up the entire thing because they have a history of screwing it up. Unless they drop their CEO, they're going to keep screwing up because this dude is the captain of the Titanic of freaking companies. He destroyed Kimber's reputation for over 2 decades. They still haven't gotten it back. And I think he's well on his way of pulling it on Exxon Valdez on SIG.
I think the platform's cooked, honestly, and Chris, you talked a couple of times about could it change anything? I think the PR is so bad and the lack of confidence so bad that there's no coming back from it. I think the platform's cooked.
If they lose the military contract on the handgun, they're going to lose the military contract on the rifle, and they're done as SIG USA.
Oh, well, no, that's what I was going. What you were talking about with the CEO and them dumping that. I think the platform's cooked, and if they don't make some significant headway, I think SIG USA is cooked.
And just to everybody that's SIG fans, not to worry, because along with the source that gave me the text scripter comment, they just said that they hired a new spokesperson, and it's Tim Kennedy. Everyth's fixed. We're good.
Everything's good now.
We're good. Everything's going to be good.
They got Tim Kennedy back from last year.
Yep.
When he was at the SIG Next event.
Yep.
Promoting the SIG P320.
Well, Brad sent this image, so there you go.
That's got to go up. That's got to be our thumbnail for the show.
Oh yeah.
Somebody said that shit to me while we were sitting here. I was like, I gotta say that.
Oh man,
That's
that is awesome.
Great.
Tricky
man.
Timmy here to say P320. Hey, I want to thank Rob, Brad, Zeke. Now my dogs are going to start barking because they heard a gnat fart. I swear.
Chris,
Rob, Brad, Zeke, I really thank y'all for being on here. I think this has been an absolute great conversation. You know, I really, really appreciate it.
Chris, are you trying to pull a Sedini?
No, my freaking internet connection. It's been doing this. Shut up.
That's the internet
You were
equivalent
not
of,
muted.
I can't hear you.
right. But no, I really thank y'all for being on. This has been absolutely great. A wonderful conversation. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks here. Yeah.
That is his eyes. That is his eyes.
I knew
It was him. I knew it.
That was that bitch.
But no, hey, I'm very interested to see what the comments are going to be on some of this stuff. It's been absolutely awesome conversation. I can't thank y'all enough. This has been Locked, Cocked, and Unfiltered. I hope y'all have enjoyed it, and everybody have a good night. I say we go ahead and get rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Send Zeke a text telling him, hey, I bet the guys at STI would have showed up.
Oh.